Hey everyone, Golden Ninja 3000 here again. Today I'm reviewing LEGO Star Wars The Mandalorian set number 75312 Boba Fett's Starship. It's got 593 pieces, 2 amazing minifigures, and retails for $50 in the US. I really love LEGO's trend of making smaller ships, and this Slave 1 is similar in size to the one in the Master Builder series Betrayal at Cloud City set from 2018. However, it is bigger than that version. This version of Boba Fett is, of course, based on his appearance in Season 2 of The Mandalorian, where he was wearing black clothes underneath his armor. It's kind of strange to me to see, like a Boba Fett minifigure have so much black in it, but this is an incredible figure. He has amazing arm printing. He's got his regular jetpack piece, an updated print for the helmet, I believe, and even more arm printing on this side with that Mythosaur emblem. That is incredible. I love this figure. It's just done so well. And yeah, this is a new print for the helmet because I believe the old print had like some scuffs and dents on it, and this is a much cleaner version, and he also has some very nice leg printing as well. Underneath his helmet, he's got an amazing new face print with a lot of cool scars. And around the back, he does have some back printing, but he's even got like printing on the back of his head. I was not expecting that at all. So that was a really great surprise, and I understand why LEGO didn't make an alternate face for him, because this way you can have him, helmet off or helmet on, and you don't have to see a second face awkwardly behind him. Here's the Beskar armor version of Din Djarin, or the Mandalorian himself. I really wanted this figure, but I refused to buy that Trouble on Tatooine set because I just thought it was a very bad set and I wasn't going to buy it for one minifigure, and I'm glad I waited because this is an incredible figure. He is coming in a lot of sets now. He's in that Trouble on Tatooine set, which is just $30. This one's $50, so he's not very hard to get. But I absolutely love his arm printing as well. This entire Star Wars wave feels super deluxe because of how many people have arm printing. I don't love the dark brown body. I know it's accurate to the show, but I just feel like he looks a lot more silver in the show, and this minifigure just seems to be like overwhelmingly brown to me. He has more printing on this side, and he does have those like whistling birds like launchers on his arms, so that's really cool. And I mean, the torso printing is great. The silver is reflective and everything. It's just like the proportions of a minifigure's body. It's the same thing with Boba. Like in the show, their breastplates are like pretty large, so like you really get the effect of that covering their clothes. But in LEGO, it's like the things that they wear underneath their armor show through a little bit more because they're the color that the torso is molded in. His leg printing is pretty awesome as well. Again, I really love the metallic silver. He's holding that Beskar spear that he got in the Ahsoka episode, but there's still no face print for him. There's great back printing as well. But yeah, the lack of a face print does still bother me because we know what Pedro Pascal looks like, so I feel like he should have had an actual face from the beginning, like even in the 2019 set. But at this point, it's been about 2 years since the series started. We've seen his face a lot. I find it very hard to believe that like the LEGO designers didn't know that we'd be seeing his face. So I really feel like we just need a Pedro Pascal face print at this point. We've also got this carbonite block, which isn't really a minifigure, but let's treat it like one because it's got a sticker of a minifigure in it. These blocks are done exactly like the ones from the older Star Wars sets back in like the early 2000s, where Han Solo was just printed onto one of these instead of having a molded carbonite piece. Of course, LEGO's not going to make a molded piece for every random character, so I do like that we're getting like stickers of these guys. That's a Gamorrean guard from Jabba's palace, and so I think that that's, like a cute reference. The Slave 1 itself is a wonderful miniaturized version of the ship. I love the shaping here, especially like in these kind of like wheel arches. I really love these like newer curved pieces. They've only been around for I think like a year or two, and they're fantastic, honestly. But the shaping on this entire thing is really good, and it's extremely detailed. I have the UCS Slave 1, I have the Cloud City version. I will be doing a comparison video with all three of those. And honestly, like, if you missed out on the UCS version, this is a perfectly acceptable like one to get. It still has everything you want. It still feels really detailed. It feels more like a collector's item than like a toy to me. We'll start at the front. So we do have some stickers on here. I hate applying stickers on like these kind of matte finished pieces because they slip around a lot, but they look good. I like, the little bit of detail that they add. And then we do have a little hatch right here. So on like the UCS Slave 1 and on the actual ship, you'd have a door back there. This is obviously much too small for that, so instead you can just lift up this little ramp And that's a little cargo spot for the carbonite block. So I really like that. They always have a way to store carbonite blocks on Slave One ships, but I wasn't sure if we would have it on this one because we don't get Han Solo here. But I'm really glad that that feature was kept intact. Meanwhile, on like the upper kind of front bit, this is slanted up very well. I was actually really impressed with how good of a slant the designer achieved here. And I love all of the sand green pieces. We do have a couple of guns at the front. They are a little bit annoying to like move around, but they look really good. I just hate how they got like easily knocked out of alignment. And then we also have a couple of stud shooters up here. I'm glad to see that we still have actual shooting items as well. And there are stickers. I applied them as close to the edge of the bricks as I could, and I think when you do that, it really makes them look fantastic. Meanwhile, back here, you've got these little wings. Again, these are really detailed. I love, like the little finishes to them. I love, how they have like some greebling even on a set this small. And as you can see, they do rotate freely. So when you put this thing into flight mode, the wings will turn with it. And I'm, once again, glad to see that that feature from larger models has been kept on this one. You've also got a lot of good mechanical detail back there. I like that orange color of that piece. And then we just have like a lot of grill pieces and even like a stamp piece back there. And we do have another sticker back here as well. We've got even more stickers back here to kind of ease the transition from gray to dark red, or from dark red to gray, I guess would be more accurate. The only thing I don't love about this set is the color of the cockpit, because I feel like this windshield piece should be in trans clear, not like trans black. That's how it was on like every other model of the Slave One I've seen. They've all been trans clear. Maybe it's different in the Mandalorian. Maybe the glass has gotten darker, but I didn't think so. You can lift that up pretty easily, and then you have a little console, printed console in there. And you do have some seats for Boba, so you can seat him either in like the flying mode or in the landing mode. So let's go ahead and get him inside. This is the landing mode seat. Sadly, he does have to have his arms raised up like an insane amount. It looks like he's like trying to throw them up like he's partying. And you can close this, and his little accessory on top of his helmet, it'll get folded down a bit, but you don't need to fold it as extremely as you need to when it's in flying mode. Putting Boba in flying mode is pretty easy. You just have to have him sitting down with that little antenna piece on his helmet moved down. And then on that exposed 1x2 bracket, just put his legs there. And then you can kind of like lean him back a little bit. It's a little bit of a tight squeeze, but I mean, the Cloud City one was a lot tighter. When you're putting the cockpit down, just make sure it doesn't catch on these pieces. It's just like the natural flex of Lego bricks. It can be kind of hard to get down sometimes. But I think that that is a really great look. He fits in there very well. Again, the only thing I don't love is how you have to turn that antenna down. But actually, let me see if he can fit with it up. Okay, he can fit with it up. It just kind of like moves to the right a little bit. But yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how that works. And there are a couple of gaps like down here where the cockpit meets the body of the ship, but that doesn't really bother me since it's facing downwards and you never really see it. The backs of Slave One models are usually pretty well detailed, and this one is no exception. We've got some great engines. Sadly, like this strip of engines up here is interrupted by some Technic pieces, but that's because these actually form a handle. I keep forgetting that this is back here because like this set already has so many features that I just like don't think about needing a handle to fly it around. But this is definitely a great addition to the set because it just makes it so much easier to fly this thing. It's a great way to hold it. The only thing I wish is like if it was a tiny bit longer, I think that would be great, but there wasn't really any room to do that. So so I understand, why it's not that big. Here's one last look at the ship flying around so that you guys can get a little bit of a sense of how that handle works. I'm sure it's better for smaller hands and not for mine, but yeah, it's pretty decent. We do have a side build in this set, one of these little carts. I've gotten a couple of Star Wars ships, but never one that actually comes with one of these assemblies. I kind of like them because like, even though you don't get someone to drive it, it's just fun to imagine, like getting into the ship like from the ladder. And so again, I've never like had a set with one of these things. There's some lights at the front, a couple antennas. You can pretend like the Mandalorian is driving this. And at the back, there's actually a space to hold the carbonite block. So you can just slide that right in and then it'll be held in place with the ladder. But let's move this up against the ship because there's actually a couple of cool things it can do. So like I said, you can pretend like you're trying to get into the ship because you do have this ladder. It's not super easy because the slave one is such an awkward shape. Honestly, I would just like try, you know, kind of pulling it up. That doesn't even work. I really don't know. It's gonna be difficult for anyone to get into this ship. I would advise just like pulling this ladder up like right here under the wing and then just climbing up and trying to jump into the cockpit because it's a difficult fit. But the really cool part about this ship, or sorry, about this this little like speeder thing, and I forgot to mention it does have boat studs on the bottom, is that this actually acts as a stand for the Slave One. This is a fantastic function that I'm really glad the designer included. Basically, you just have to slot the stand under this like 2x2 inverted tile here. And it just broke off one of the guns, but the ladder slides in right there, and then, hang on, I'm doing something wrong. All right, there we go. I wasn't leaning it back far enough. I was trying to connect it up front for some reason. But the pieces down here just slot into like these little pyramid 1x1 pieces by the tail lights, and then the ladder just sits right there. So this isn't a very stable connection. Let me adjust the camera, but you guys will notice that like it is shaking, it is sliding. If I like just give this like one good shake, it's gonna fall off. But if you're not on too wobbly of a surface, this actually works really well. So let me get it back on there, and then you guys can get the full effect. So there we go. And like I said, it stands up well. It looks like it's in flight mode. This is a really awesome feature because I love it when LEGO includes display stands in sets that are this cheap and aren't really like necessarily for the adult market. There are a ton of extra pieces for a set this size. Here's the box for this set. I really like, you know, that planet background. I think that's the planet that they were on in like episode 7 or 6. I don't remember what order the episodes were in at this point. But it's a nice background. It's interesting to not see, you know, just a Star Wars ship flying through normal space. My box was a bit damaged, but I'm okay with that because it means I got it for 15% off from Target, which was a great price for an already great set. We've got a decent size instruction manual here, pretty large actually for a $50 set. And then we've got our usual ads at the back for the Mandalorian sets, all of the August 2021 minifigures, and then the Skywalker Saga video game. This is a pretty awesome set with all things said and done. I think that it's great that LEGO's, you know, putting out iconic ships at a lower price point. I love the Cloud City, like kind of chibi scale version of the Slave one, so I really like this slightly sized up one. I didn't want to get the 20th anniversary version, which was $120, because I have the UCS version, but this is different enough from the UCS version that it made it worthwhile for me to get. I also love all of the little functions on this thing, the fact that you still have a handle, even though it is a tiny ship. The fact that you get a cart that doubles as a stand, that shocked me when I found that out. I think it was at like LegoCon that they showed that off. And I really love that. And then you've also got other features, like you can put the carbonite block in, and you've got stud shooters, and you can put Boba Fett in the cockpit, and you've got like the rotating wings. It's just a very nice set. And even though the ship isn't that big for like a $50 price, like it seems more like a $40 set with the finished size, it's very dense, it's very detailed. You have the cart side build. So I think that this is a good value for $50. It's not the best. There are much better $50 sets out there if you go to like non-licensed themes. But as far as Star Wars goes, this is a pretty good price. My two biggest complaints are, one, that there's nowhere to put Boba's gun. I always like it when when there are clips on LEGO sets, and I would have loved even just a clip on the cart to put his accessory. And then the other thing is that 2 minifigures in a $50 set feels weak to me. Even from Star Wars, which has a lower minifigure count, I would expect at least 3. And because the cart was included, I'm not going to ask for Fennec Shand or someone to be in this set because that is like an insane minifigure, and we already have 2 highly detailed minifigures here. But I mean, there's the cart. You could have included like an Imperial officer, right? Like Boba helped the Mandalorian sneak into like an Imperial stronghold. You could have just included someone to drive the cart. But those aren't reasons to not buy the set, in my opinion. So that's it for today. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and check out my website, goldenninja3000.com, and I'll see you guys with more videos soon. Bye for now.